Hey guys, so I'm back in my garden, and as you can see, it's been a while since I made a video. I'm bald now. I do have some things to update you guys on. I haven't made a video in a while. I also haven't been in my garden in a while because a few tragic things happened. Firstly, my chickens died, all of them. It wasn't like they all died of heat or they all died from the cold, no. So as you guys know, we have a whole bunch of dogs because our dog just had puppies. And so one morning I let the dogs out. I let the chickens out of their box because I cover them up at night just to make sure that no raccoons or squirrels get in and try and kill the chickens. So in the morning, I let them out of their box. I closed up the chicken coop and the chicken run, make sure that they were going to be safe. Everything I thought was covered well. And then I come out an hour later and go to check on the chickens, and they're all on the floor, dead, and the dogs are sitting in there with the chickens. So, as you can tell, it upset me a lot. I sort of fell into like a little depression and haven't been in my garden a while after that, just because I didn't know how to process that. Like, it's been a really big goal of mine to have chickens and to get chickens and care for chickens, and I got emotionally invested with the chickens because I've been waiting for them for so long. I already got emotionally attached to them, so it hit me hard whenever I saw that they were all just dead on the floor. But I am going to be getting more chickens. 2 of the dogs did run away. The biggest dog, Bella, she ran away along with the puppy, one of her puppies. So there are still 3 puppies here, but this time around I'm going to make sure that I take every precaution necessary to make sure that these chickens are taken care of. I'm going to put the coop higher off the ground. I'm not going to let them out of their coop until they're old enough to care for themselves. But yeah. So I'm out here today, and I told you guys that I would only keep my plants. I'm about to transplant some of my cucumber plants, but I told you guys that my cucumber plants, since they're in such small pots, I'm going to be having them in there for a short amount of time. They're not going to be in there for that long. So right now I'm moving them into the trellis that's going upwards against the front side of my garden. So I don't know when the last time I showed you guys me planting this was, but I planted this about 2 weeks ago, and these are all my cucumbers. This is not a cucumber, this is a watermelon, so this isn't going to be transplanted. I'm only transplanting these cucumbers, and they're all going to be going across this trellis and some more down there. I'll give you guys a tour of all of the rest of the plants later on. Okay, so I've finished planting out the cucumbers. Now I'm gonna water them in. And while I'm doing this, I just want to explain to you guys a lot more of what's going on in my head. So like I said, after the whole thing with my chickens happened, I sort of got into a depressive episode. And it's not like I understood that I was going through a depressive episode, but in the end I knew that that's what was going on. Hope I need to go around. But it wasn't just the chickens that had brought me there, but it was the fact that the chickens and my garden both had a sort of meaning to them. The chickens were sort of a way for me to bring something good into the world, or something that I feel like would be helpful, not only to me, but to my family. And also it would sort of help me with my values, because if you don't know, I'm a vegetarian. I was a vegan, but there were some things that I sort of compromised with, and I saw that I could work out with myself. So I told myself I would be able to eat eggs if they came from a place that I grew them, or a place that I allowed them to grow from. Hold on, I'm gonna water them, and then I'm gonna get to a place where I can sit down and actually record, because there's a lot of sun behind me and I want you guys to be able to see me. Like I was saying, I wanted to raise hens because, first of all, I don't believe in the overproduction of eggs. or egg farms. I don't believe in the over-industrialization of chicken farms. And a sort of way to go along with my beliefs and also still be able to eat eggs and not feel bad about eating eggs, or not feel bad about not knowing where they're coming from, was a sort of compromise to myself. And also, I just thought it would be something that I would enjoy, seeing as I like plants, I like gardening, I like being out in my garden, I like interacting with my garden. So chickens were like an extension of that. They were like a way for me to interact with something that was living and had a personality. And so when I ordered my chickens, even though if you know, or if you follow me on my social medias, you know I ordered a cockerel of chickens by accident. I ordered some cockerels, which are basically all male chickens. I accidentally ordered all male chickens, and even after that, I was still willing to keep them and have them because they were my chickens and I wanted to raise chickens regardless. So I was still going to get a hen or a few hens, so I did get those eggs, but I didn't want to kill those chickens or send those chickens off to get killed, because that's not what I believed in and it's not what I wanted for those chickens. I bought those chickens with the intention of keeping them, caring for them, and I made it a point to myself that these chickens weren't going to die by my hand. I wasn't going to kill these chickens for sustenance for myself. I was going to keep these chickens and raise them and give them a good life, and whenever they died, I wasn't going to use their meat to nourish my body. I was going to bury them and give them sort of back to where they came from, because I'm a very firm believer in my phone. I'm a very firm believer in lives mattering in a sort of sense. So after that chicken already hatched, its life had a purpose, and whether or not somebody else would raise that chicken to kill it and to have it for meat, it's not what I wanted to do with it. So having those chickens die and having it be somewhat still my fault because I didn't protect them the way that I was supposed to protect them, it sort of did weigh heavily on my heart. And then after the dogs had killed my chickens, they had came into my garden and they completely destroyed my garden. If you saw where I was sitting, you saw that my corn plants weren't there anymore. And you saw that my corn plants were just starting to get their spikes. I forgot what they were called. I saw somebody else call them what they actually are called. But they were just starting to get their spikes. One of them even had a silk on its ear of corn. And they had completely just destroyed my corn patch. They ripped up a lot of my melons. And so I was really devastated, because the chickens, I have been waiting honestly about 2 years to get chickens. This garden, I've been working on this garden since we moved into this house. This is something that I've actually encouraged my mother to help me do. And then so the fact that my mom helped me do this, and my whole family understands the importance of my garden and of the chickens to me. So whenever they found out what had happened, they understood how hurt I was, because my garden means a lot to me. Like this, whenever I was going through a rough patch in my life, this garden is literally what helped me. Whenever we had got evicted from our apartment and we had to move in with my grandmother, the fact that I had a garden at her house and I was taking care of something at her house helped me sort of feel okay with the situation that I was in, because I had something that I was working with and I had something to help keep me sort of busy and sane, even in the times where I had other things to preoccupy myself. My garden was still there to help me through whatever it was. So I always had that there. And just seeing my garden the way it was after the dogs had tore everything up really messed me up. So I didn't want to be out here. I didn't want to mess with a lot of the stuff in my garden. I didn't want to see a lot of what the damage was, just because this means a lot to me. Even though there's still a lot of people who are like, okay, it's just a garden, you can replant stuff. it's still the fact that I worked on certain plants during certain times, so those plants hold like a meaning to me. And whenever the corn started to sprout their silks and started to sprout their spikes, that held a meaning to me too, because I was actually putting something into the world that I've never experienced before. I was experiencing something new, something different in my life that gave me something else to focus on than the bad stuff that's going on, the riots, the protests. It gave me something else to put my energy towards. So yeah, but now I've sort of had to force myself to get up out of my room, to get out into my garden, to, even though there was a lot of things destroyed, I had to come out here. I had to pull the chicken coop out. I had to resurface the ground, remulch the ground. I had to, I completely took down the chicken wire, because the chicken wire, I guess they had completely tore the chicken wire up at the bottom. So the chicken wire was useless. I have gotten metal fencing, and I put metal fencing up. It's empty. I'll show you guys what it looks like in a second, but it's empty now. I've completely reworked the way that you can get into the chicken coop. I tore up the remnants of what the corn plants were. I tore up the remnants of what my cantaloupes were, and I sowed new seeds. Wherever I had those plants initially started at, I made it a point that I was going to sow new seeds there, and I was going to be determined that those seeds grew and make sure that there's new life coming where my stuff was sort of destroyed. So I planted new cantaloupes, I planted new watermelons, I planted watermelons and sunflowers and squashes where my corns were. So those places are still going to have their purpose. They're not going to be bare and waiting for something to be planted in them. I have to get over whatever I'm going through now and let new life come into where it's supposed to be. Now, I don't know when I'm going to be getting my chickens, just because I want to make sure that this time I'm ready for them, and I have the space ready for them, and I have all of the proper protections put in place for them, so they are going to be successful, and I want to make sure that they are going to live a long, happy life. So I'm going to make sure I take my time with this process. I'm not going to go right away and get these chickens just so they can die again. So on that note, I guess it's a good idea to get started on the new garden tour. I'm going to show you guys everything new that's here. There are still some messes in certain areas because I did rake a lot. I moved a lot of things around after the chickens died, and I sort of cleaned up the area around my garden, picked up all the scrap wood and all the scrap pipe and stuff. There is still the burn pile with a whole bunch of trash, but we're working on getting that all taken care of. So I'm gonna start at the back of my garden, since I'm at the back of my garden in this chair. I'm gonna start at the back of my garden and show you guys from there. Back where I have all of my squash plants. As you can see, these are either my yellow or my green squash. I'm not sure what they are. I don't remember what I planted back here. These were planted a long time ago, and they're still very small and skimpy, but there's a squash plant there, one there, and I think 3 over there. They are probably planted a little too close together, so I don't know if that's gonna factor into it, but yeah, that's just what they are. That is the jalapeno plant. I've harvested about 3 jalapenos off of it so far. You guys probably hear the cicadas in the background. This is the serrano plant back there, the skinny one. I'll actually move up to get you guys right there. This is the serrano plant, the skinny one, and as you guys probably saw on my Snap story, there was only 1 serrano on here, but since I picked it, there's a few more on there, just hanging. This is my other jalapeno plant. That is a tomatillo, purple tomatillo right there. That is another purple tomatillo right there. These are my yellow pear tomatoes right here, and right here, and right this. Yeah, this is another tomatillo plant. I mean, not a tomatillo, yellow pear tomato plant. This is a beefsteak tomato plant that I've accidentally topped. So I pruned off all the things and I let one of the suckers go. So this is just a really long sucker that's turned into the new top of the plant. This, on the other hand, is my butternut squash plant. I've sort of been training it this way just so it can root here and get all of its nutrients from here. I'm probably going to return this end of it around and have it go this way just so it's weaving all through here and not interrupting those carrots, if you can see them down there. But we do have some butternut squashes. These are the farthest that I've had them progress. They all just like dry out and die like this one. And I plucked them off and just put them back. But yeah, I have one there and I have one where here. So hopefully those grow into something. But I'm going to turn this back around and have it go back eventually. Or I'll just have it like go off the side. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of little carrots planted down here. And these are all beans. I don't care if they actually grow up. I just planted them there to fix the nitrogen because I heard that either it was beans or peas that fix nitrogen in the soil. Now this is where my cantaloupes were. And as you can see, I just watered it. This was the dry soil. This is wet soil. But I just re-sowed them so they have new seeds in here. And hopefully these repopulate what was already here. There's a watermelon down there, cucumbers back there. I replanted a few cucumbers over here. We have some cucumbers growing over here. We have a lot actually. We have one there. We have one, where is it at? I tucked it behind here a few days ago. I know, like a day ago. It's right there, it's a baby. And then I have these two, the twins, and then there's one there. They're all over. This one died. But yeah, they're all over. This is my strawberries. I removed those from the front. My lavender died. There's basil growing in between. This is my potatoes. I have potatoes growing in there. And I put grass on top, grass clippings. I added some more cucumbers to my cucumber wall. And my cucumbers are doing good. I don't know where my honeydew melons are. They seem to sort of have gotten lost in the mix. Because as you can tell, you can't tell, but I had one here. I had one over here. And I had one over here. They're all gone. I don't know where they went. Either that or that's one there. But I think that's watermelon. I don't know. I might have to regrow some honeydew melon. Because I don't see them here. Or I'm just confusing them with a cucumber plant. So, I don't know. We'll see whenever they actually start growing their fruit. But yeah, this is where the corn was. I replanted sunflowers, squash, and everything else in here. I'm just going to let this go completely crazy. So whatever it does, it does. This is going to be sort of my crazy patch here. This is where the chickens were. They were in there. I sort of had to flatten down a lot of that dirt because my brothers dug up the ground to see if any of the chickens were buried. And I re-put the door here because, as you probably know, the door was out there before. I closed it in some and I made it flat with this side. And I'm putting the door back there, so you have to go in through the garden to actually get into the chicken coop. And I'm going to put a wall along this and along here of the same thick metal fence. You see, this is chicken wire. That's the metal fence. So it's a lot thicker, and they're not going to be able to get under it as easy. So I'm going to put that going around both of these. And that's just my sitting chair and all my pots back there. I have my my red cherry tomatoes here. These, I can't remember what these are. I think these are Swiss chard. Hopefully they're Swiss chard. I think they're rainbow Swiss chard. I had the cucumbers in here. I replanted the cucumbers. That's a watermelon plant. These are butternut squash plants. Just because I didn't know if the butternut squashes over there were going to produce because they kept dying before they produced any fruit. So I replanted some more. These were going to be table queen acorn squash. They didn't sprout. So I don't know if the seeds are bad, but I'm probably going to plant some new seeds in there. These are my broccoli seeds. They seem to be doing fine. These are these are bell pepper seeds, and those are banana pepper seeds. So those are sprouting up good too. I think I'm gonna go back inside because it's a little too noisy out here. And also, I was getting a whole bunch of flies on me because I had just watered, so there was a whole bunch of flies over there. But yeah, that's my garden as of now. I don't really have much planted anywhere else. I do plan on planting a whole bunch of random seeds because my grandma, whenever we first moved here, she had bought me a whole bunch of random seeds off of Wish. Well, they weren't random seeds when she bought them, but she bought a whole bunch of seeds off Wish. They didn't have any names. So I'm going to be planting a whole bunch of random seeds and see what pops up. Some of them look like melons. Some of them look like watermelons or cucumbers or cantaloupes. And then some of them are desert roses. Those do have names. And then some of them are just completely random. So we're going to plant them and see what we get. But that's going to be another video. So I just wanted to let you guys know that this is the end of the video. I'm leaving. And I'll see you guys in another video.